What if I told you that, what's taking damage in the background? What if I told you there was an efficient way to guarantee that you have decent stats on all of your highly leveled echoes? Well, you can't necessarily guarantee them, but there is an efficient way to go about getting the perfect substats on your echoes. And today I'm going to be teaching you the secrets to that. My name is Braxophone, and my God, this MC is so pretty. But before we get into all of that, let me tell you about today's sponsor.
This video is sponsored by TARISLAND. TARISLAND is a brand new MMORPG available on PC and mobile with cross-platform data sharing across both platforms. Choose one of 9 classes with 18 specializations, 2 for each class, and build a unique character using the talent tree. You can even change your build to make sure that you make a character that's right for you. Journey into the vast world of TARISLAND and experience hidden puzzles and new adventures scattered throughout the land. You can team up with your friends or attempt to make new ones. Yeah, good luck with that. To take on raids and challenge tough bosses. One of these bosses is the Blight Dragon, and just look at this thing.
No, dude, we're cooked. We're actually so cooked. Yeah, we're cooked.
It looks super sick, and it's definitely a boss that I'd love to say that I took out. I don't think I'll be able to say that. Join the adventure and come fight this and many other bosses in TARISLAND. TARISLAND's global launch date is on June 21st. Make sure to click that link down below in the description to get started, and thanks again to TARISLAND for sponsoring this video.
Now, back in Honkai Star Rail, I made a video similar to this where I kind of went over how to decide which relics to roll and how not to waste your stamina and relic resources. Well, Echoes and Wuthering Waves are the same thing, where basically they're going to be your gearing system. Now, as a general disclaimer, I do want to say that this is a completely free-to-play account, no top-ups, no refreshes, and luck is 100% of the time going to be a factor in your account's progression. But there are some ways to sort of mitigate the bad luck, or at least preserve resources and invest in the correct things to maximize those resources. After being completely free to play for about a few weeks, we've now come to the best conclusion on how to choose which echoes to level. Now, I'm not going to go into all of the specifics about every single echo. I'll just give you the basic rundown, which is that the 4 costs can have attack percent, HP percent, defense percent, crit damage, or crit rate. The 3 costs can have any sort of damage percent, attack percent, HP percent, or defense percent, as well as energy regen. And that the 1 cost can have attack percent, HP percent, or defense percent. Now, for your DPS characters, you've probably been farming for these crit rate and crit damage ones on the 4 cost, and that's totally normal. This is what you're going to want to do for a lot of endgame builds, and if you want to know more about builds, make sure to subscribe to my channel. But now I'm going to teach you how to get into the nitty-gritty of it, because aside from the main stats, we have substats that are all going to play into how strong your echoes can get. So there's one thing that makes Wuthering Waves stand out from every other gacha game that I've played in the past, and a lot of the Hoyo games that many of you may be familiar with, especially if you already watch my channel. Usually in other games, when you farm, you use stamina to get some sort of gear, and that gear has randomized stats. However, in this game, you can actually infinitely farm. If you need a Dreamless with good stats, you can just go farm Dreamless over and over and over and over, and it will keep dropping Dreamless. Now, you won't have any substats, and that's fine. The main thing is that you just need to be able to farm until you get the right main stat. So for me, I farmed until I had crit rate, and then I was ready to roll. So as you can see here on my Dreamless, this isn't even a perfect Dreamless, but this is one of the first echoes that I actually maxed out. Now, you can see the first stat that I rolled was defense, but as I was sort of learning which echoes to invest in and which ones could get me the best stats, I went with a second roll anyways. However, if you want to truly maximize the amount of value you get from your echoes and your echo resources, you actually don't want to do what I did here. This is an example of a bad decision that went really, really well. So I'm going to show you how to make good decisions on your echo rolls. So here we have a crit rate Mech Abomination. Now, Mech Abomination is actually an insanely good echo. It's just that a lot of characters' best in slots are not the attack set. However, in the right content and with multiple enemies, this thing is absolutely insane. It gets quadratic scaling. It drops a bunch of AoEs on all the enemies, and if they're all stacked on top of each other, they can all get hit by all of the AoEs. So we have our +0 Mech Abomination. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go over to upgrade, and you can see that you can go +5, +10, +15, +20, and +25 to tune. Now, tuning will get your first substat, and we actually care about this first substat more than anything else in the entire game. What we're gonna do is we're gonna level them up to 5, and here is where you need to be incredibly efficient. If you don't want to waste your resources that you get from tacit fields, which are very limited, you want to see what this first one tunes to. If this rolls a good roll for the character that I want, then we can keep it and we can keep rolling 5 by 5 by 5. However, if this gets HP, defense, or attack in any of the flat varieties, we are probably going to not use it. Let's go ahead and see. And here we go. So we got basic attack damage bonus. Now, basic attack damage bonus is actually very strong on certain characters. For example, basic attack damage bonus can be used by Havoc Rover if you're using them on field, and this will give them a solid damage bonus. However, if you have a character like GN, which we're not going to use Mech Abomination on GN, but if you hypothetically were building this for GN, then this would actually be not a good stat. So what we would do is actually just say, bye-bye Mech Abomination, we're not going to roll you anymore. Look how sad he is. He looks so sad. Now, you might be thinking, Brex, why would you get rid of an Echo after just one roll? Like, surely you can go to 10 or plus 15 and it's still pretty efficient, right? Like, the first roll wasn't even that bad. No. The thing that makes Wuthering Waves very different from every other gacha game that you've played is that you can infinitely farm for the right main stat. If this was Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail and we had a crit rate piece and it didn't roll well in the first one, you could still roll the second or third substat. Reason being that you still have a chance to get good substats down the line. And because it takes resources and you have a really, really low chance of actually getting the crit stat in the first place. However, because tacit fields don't actually drop that many resources for you to level with, and because you can infinitely farm the right main stat, it's not actually worth to go to plus 10 or to go to plus 15 unless you already have a stat that you need. And just like that, I have another crit main stack Mech Abomination. Now, you can ignore these other 9 purple ones that I dropped trying to get one gold one, because that won't happen to you. It just happened to me because I was making a video and God forbid anything go easily. Anyway, so we just take this, we level it up to 5, and we see what the first stat is. Now, something to keep in mind is that this can actually roll crit damage, even though the main stat is crit damage. That is different from Holyverse games if you came from there. In those games, you couldn't actually get the same main stat as a substat. In this game, you can. Now, we actually roll this, we get Resonance Liberation damage bonus. Now, if we have a character that benefits from Resonance Liberation, we keep rolling it. If not, we throw it out. And we can do the same thing with Dreamless. Let's take Dreamless to 5, and let's see if we grab a crit stat right off the bat. Go here, tune, crit rate right off the bat. So because we got a crit rate, and this is actually a pretty high roll overall, because we got crit rate, that means now we can take this up to level 10 and see what the second stat is. And as you can see, we're only using one of these every time we want to go up to level 5 for the very first time. We only have to use one of the gold experience to actually take it there and see if we get the right one. If not, because we can literally go reset this over and over and over. Look how many, like I have another crit damage here, I have another crit damage here, I have another crit damage here, crit damage. Like I have so many of these that I can roll just the first stat on to test if we're going to get a good first substat roll. And by doing this, you're effectively saving yourself so many resources for leveling because you can infinitely farm this main stat. In Holyverse games, you go into like plus 12 or plus 9 just to see what the first 3 rolls are. Here, you don't have to do that. You only go to the first roll and then you see what the second roll gets. And we do this and we can tune this second roll just to see what we get, and resonant skill damage bonus. So I think this is pretty good. So personally, I would keep rolling this. Now, if you want to be extra safe and extra picky, you can always go for double crit first. But the skill damage bonuses, the basic attack damage bonus, the liberation damage bonus, all of those are pretty good stats. You basically just want to roll these and try to dodge all of the flat HP, flat attack, flat defense. And in doing that, you're going to basically guarantee that you get decent stats. Go to 15. Let's see how the third stat goes. Now, this can determine whether or not you throw out the piece, but it's completely up to you. Now, this is going to be defense percent. So if I were being super picky about it, I wouldn't continue to roll this. But I think for me, I'm personally happy with this turnout because we already have guaranteed crit rate, we already have guaranteed resonance skill, and we still have 2 more to go. So if we wanted to just see how it goes and just keep leveling it up, the fourth stat could determine if we go for stat number 5 or not. Go up to 20, and let's just see what we get. And energy regen, which is actually a pretty good substat to have. So this is actually a really good echo. We do have one stat that's not ideal, but we have crit rate, we have resonance skill, we have energy regen, and we could level this up to 25 to see what the fifth stat was. And even if the fifth stat hits a bad stat, you still have 3 good stats right here. You still have crit rate, you still have resonance skill damage bonus, you still have energy regen. So all in all, this is a pretty good dream list so far. And you can take it to the max. You can say after you get 1 bad roll under 3, you just get rid of it. Like if I got this defense percent, I could just get rid of this too. But the main point is that you just don't want to level up past 5 unless the very first stat that you roll is insane, because you can always just farm more. Now, the downside to this and the farming part is that the 3 cost echoes can be a little bit more finicky. And the reason is because there's so many different types of damage bonus that you can end up just pulling the wrong damage bonus on the ones that you need. For example, I need one of these guys with Glacio damage bonus as the main stat, one of the ice ones. However, my Havoc one pulled the Glacio damage one. Because there's so many different main stats that you can actually pull in the 3 cost, it is a lot harder to farm these. So you can, if you want to, be a little less picky with them. I still, because you can farm infinitely, if you do have the time to grind, if you're an MMO player who's been through the ropes of the grind, then you're probably used to going to farm for drops, and this is pretty normal. But if you don't have a lot of time in your day, you can be less picky with these. Now, this one rolls energy regen 4th stat. This is a really, really good one. Basic attack damage bonus, resonance liberation, crit rate, energy regen. Yeah, this is a solid Echo so far. Crit rate was a 2nd stat, which in my opinion is very good. If we wanted to be a little bit pickier, we'd wait till we get crit rate and damage before we continue to roll, but it's honestly up to you and how picky you want to be. I gave this one 2 chances. I got crit damage, so I gave it another chance. I got HP. I'm not leveling this guy anymore. Even though he's a Havoc damage 3 cost, this was a bad decision on my part. I just wanted to have a full kitted out Havoc rover for tower, so I went ahead and said, okay, first stat doesn't matter. I'm gonna roll second one, and it baited me into getting a third one. So honestly, I wouldn't even do this. You just roll that first stat. I got electro damage bonus flautist. I rolled flat attack. I'm not rolling this anymore. In fact, I'm going to unlock it, and I'm actually going to feed it into something else. The rule is, if you level it to 5 and it doesn't get an insane stat that you need, which most of the time is just going to be crit rate or crit damage, it's fodder. You find a new one. If the second stat isn't good, you can roll for the third stat and see if it's good. If the third stat is not good, it's fodder. By the third roll, you want to have at least 2 good stats, and ideally you want to have at least 3 good stats. How picky you are is completely up to you, but I think the one universal rule is that you basically never want to level up past 5 if you don't have a good first substat. Now, honestly, that's the main tip I have here in this video, but I do want to give you guys one more tip for the 3 stars. Now, not a lot of people are taking advantage of this, but you can actually farm 3-star or 3 cost echoes. My bad, not 3-star. You can farm those in other people's worlds, and that is how you can infinitely farm them. Because if you run out of spawns, let's say you're farming the Violet Feathered Heron. Once you defeat all of these and they stop tracking on your map, if you have even one friend available to hop in a co-op with, you can go ahead and join them, and then maybe you can just type in the chat like, hey, let's farm this together. One thing I want to point out is actually that Void Thunder is probably the best one to be doing every single day. You definitely won't be able to knock out every single 3 cost, unless this is just probably the only game that you play, or unless you're just some kind of god tier gamer, I don't know. But of all the elite class ones that you can actually get echoes from, Lightning or Electro has the least. You have Flautist and Violet Feathered Heron, so if you're going to make sure to farm specific ones every day, it is going to be harder to get the perfect Electro ones just because there are the least of them on the map, and there's only 2 of them for Electro. And with Yodeling coming out, and for people building called Charo, you're going to really want to make sure to hit these. But otherwise, it doesn't really matter which ones you farm. Just kind of pick out the ones for the right element, go crazy, and hopefully those tips on leveling your echoes helps out a lot. Don't waste resources in the wrong place. That would be cringe and not beneficial. I'm working on a lot of Wuthering Waves videos, but I also miss Honkai Star Rail a little bit, so I'm going to be uploading a mix of those two. If you like this video, make sure to leave a comment letting me know who your favorite character is or who you're farming for, and subscribe for more content, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.